Hello, America. My name is Claytron Menendez, and on today's edition of the Thrive Time Show, we answer a question from a Thriver who asks, when is it the right time to hire your first employee?
Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women, 13 multi-million-dollar businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thrive Time Show.
3, 2, 1, here we go!
Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here.
Yes, 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 and yes. Dr. Z, it is ecstasy when you are next to me.
Well, you know, when you say 4 yeses to kick off a show, I know it's going to be a 4-quarter game. I mean, you're going to show up to all 4 quarters. When you only give like 3 yeses, I know you're kind of there. You're going through the motions. You're on payroll, so you got to do it. I get it. 2 yeses, forget about it. Halftime, we're over. We're done. You know. And if I can't even get 1 yes out of you, whew, it's going to be a long day.
Well, today's show, Z, it's going to be incredible because I'm going to say yes,
Oh, wow.
yes, and yes a lot.
Oof.
But
Wow.
we're going to answer a question from a listener by the name of Blake out there. He is an attorney,
Okay.
and he wants to know, how do you know when it's the right time to hire your first employee?
Ooh, good
He's owned
question.
his father's law practice since July of 2019, and he's been growing his business, his client business steadily. He's growing his portfolio steadily, and he's recently opened up a new branch in Salt Lake City, so he's growing his portfolio.
Cool.
And but before we get into his question, I wanted to talk about something I talk about a lot, and it's called being Trump-tastic.
Okay. Okay. All right.
So, Z, do you remember the economy? Do you remember the year 2016?
I remember the year 2016.
Okay, so how long has Trump-tastic been in office?
Going on now, the 3rd year?
So let's just say
Right.
that you are listening right now and you do not like him. Okay, I'll let you have that. Fine. So let's just say you don't like him. Let's
Okay.
do this, though. Let's look at the Dow Jones average. And Andrew, put this on the show notes, okay? On today's show notes. And today's show notes are going to be labeled as 1029. We'll go back and change it, but it's 1029. You can find it and look for a Blake recently edited document. So 2016, 17,927 was the peak.
The peak.
The peak. And I want you to put this on the notes, and you can find it, Andrew, by searching for 2016 Dow Jones average.
Oh, I got it.
So the Dow Jones average, Z, can you explain roughly in layman's terms what the Dow Jones average is?
Well, the Dow Jones average is it's kind of a false narrative in some regards, but they try to do their best. What they do is they take an average of top companies, and how do those companies become top companies? They choose them. And every now and then they change them. And I remember a few years ago they actually changed and added a few more tech companies and took a few more industrial companies off of there because they're trying to keep it relative to today. And really what that is a snapshot, an average of companies they chose. And why they chose them? Because they think they're the best representative of the overall Dow's health. And the Dow is an exchange, the New York Stock Exchange. And so, you know, it's kind of that number. Does it represent every single entity on the exchange? It doesn't. And I don't know exactly how many. Andrew, you could probably Google that and see how many companies are actually included in that number. What would be your guess, Clay?
Oh, boy, I'll say this.
100?
The Dow Jones average right now, this is today, this is according to Investopedia, it's an index that tracks 30 large publicly owned companies trading on the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ.
It's just 30 companies, right?
Right
30.
now.
Yeah, 30 companies.
It was named after, the Dow Jones is named after Charles Dow, who created it in 1896 as a way to sort of keep track of how the economy's doing overall.
Right. It's a snapshot. It's not a full picture, but it's a snapshot.
So in 2019, Andrew, what is the Dow Jones average right now? Like, what's today's?
The average right now, well, today it got up to 27,153.
So 27,000. So if you think about it, let's make this really easy to picture this. Let's say there's 30,000 points. In the history of our country, we got to 16,000 points previous to Trump getting in office. we've now gotten to 27,000 in 3 years. Now, you understand 16 is half of 32. So if we got to 32, he could have doubled the
Correct.
Dow Jones average.
Correct.
And doing in 3 years what no other president has been able to do, I mean, in a long time. Now, the size and scale of the economy, I mean, it might make it easier to gain faster, but you're doubling. Some would say he's riding the energy or the policies of Obama, some would say. Some would say that he has, despite the abominations, I mean bad policies of Obama, who was a previous community organizer, maybe he's had to undo things that were in the way, such as legal entanglements and all this ridiculous jackassery with health care. But what's happened is the economy now has grown from $16,000 to $27,000 or 27,000 points on the Dow Jones average. I would just say right now, I am very excited about what's going on with our economy, and I would like to say that things are very Trump-tastic right now.
Well, I would argue this. I'm going to be, because we have to cage fight because that's what we're here
That's
to
what we do.
That's what we do.
We're not here to
That's
get
what we-
along. No, we don't.
I would say that the average person on the street could care less about the Dow Jones average.
I would say as well. I agree, but I do think when
Okay,
the
so-
economy's rolling, it creates jobs.
Well,
and,
okay. Well, now you're taking. Well, I'll let you have your narrative. Let me have my
fine. Okay,
narrative.
here's, I'll go to
Andrew,
timeout. I'm going to
pull
go to
up
timeout.
unemployment rate
Yeah.
in 2016.
Oh yeah.
Clay, pull up unemployment rate 2019
So what
or
was
today.
the unemployment rate in 2016?
Got it.
Andrew,
And I think here's a saying my dad used to tell me. God rest his soul.
you can put a perm on a
Lovely
frog,
man.
but you can't.
No, what? That makes no sense.
I didn't know why your
Makes a lot
dad
of
said
sense.
it.
It makes
Frogs
a lot
don't
of
even
sense.
wear perms.
Well, Robert, you can always put a perm
we
on a
all
frog.
know they like skullets. I mean, they don't
But
do perms.
You need an axe to
Put a
kill.
skullet on a frog.
You need an
can't
axe to
put-
kill
I
a
mean,
man, Robert.
Okay.
What, Dad?
Well, no.
What?
My dad used to say, hey, all my kids are working, so it must be working.
Ooh,
You know what I'm saying?
That's
And that
good.
was his measure of it was jobs. It was availability to get jobs. I mean, I
Repeat
know,
that again.
hey, all my kids are working, so it must be working. And whoever was in office at the time, it was an indication that he gave his stamp of approval.
Got it.
That the economy was doing well, and I think more the average guy out there, the average person, is job availability. I mean, I know a big company right now that I can't say their name, but on our show the other day, we had the Secretary of Commerce on here talking about a big company that just decided to come to Oklahoma to set up camp, and their biggest problem is finding people to work.
And in
And these are
Oklahoma,
good-
you've
and
got
these
like
are
over
good
a third of
jobs.
the people that won't work at all. They just refuse to work.
Well, and that's a whole nother show, a whole nother topic. But the point is I think the measure of unemployment perhaps is a better measurement for the average person on how healthy I mean, if you want to work, you can get a job right now. And I think that's the bottom line. Before, you might want to work and no one's hiring. They're all letting people off.
There was a while there at ZI, there was a gas station, local gas station growing up there, and there was a guy out there in front of it who would sit out there for hours, at a time, and he would hold a little sign saying "Now hiring." He was available. We'll call him Bernie. And I thought he was my uncle for a long time. You know what? One wise phrase he always told me.
You'd only have to work 10 hours to have a full week. I
No,
don't
he
know.
said you can't go back to work until you learn how to twerk.
Oh,
I've heard that.
I'm like,
I've
well,
heard
that
that.
makes sense.
I'm saying
That just makes sense.
And I'm like, Uncle Bernie? And then my parents pointed out, this is not your Uncle Bernie, and he's not joining you at the gas station to be with you. He just lives out front of that thing.
He's the hairdresser that puts the perms on the frogs.
Right. And so then I realized that really all the advice I had been given was wrong.
Wow.
And so I realized
that was
I can't be up late night learning to twerk. I got to get to work.
Cold fish
I
slapped
mean,
in your face.
A
I mean,
total
that was,
life.
wow.
It's talk about just having the life.
The rug snatched out from
Life was
underneath you.
different than I thought it was forever. I thought Uncle Bernie is the wise man. He dressed up in kind of a earthy, rustic
Yeah.
look, because
Like a
he
sage. A lot of wisdom.
Is that a lot of plant material being
He
incorporated
looked like
in that?
he was in Duck Dynasty before it was a show.
Oh, there you go.
You're in great shape though, so that's good.
Okay, so what?
So
what
Andrew,
was
what's the take? What's the take? What's unemployment then and now?
So then 2016, it was 4.7.
okay.
That was the year that Trump was elected, and then today It's 3.5.
3.5. And that's significant.
That's Trump-tastic.
This is true.
As people will tell you that in the knowledge in the industry and the knowledge of this industry of unemployment numbers. And, you know, there were a while that there was kind of a weird narrative back in the Great Recession. You guys remember that? Andrew,
yeah.
you're even old enough to remember that. I mean, you're as young as you
It's
are.
the first thing ever. That
Yes,
I've been old enough
it's
to
welcome to
remember.
the world. Welcome to the
Thank
world,
you.
young man. But the narrative there is that so many people would be unemployed for so long, they became off the records of unemployed. So I know that sounds weird, but it's kind of like, you know, after a year being unemployed, we don't count you as unemployed anymore. We just count you as, I don't know what we count you as, but we don't count you as, which doesn't seem right.
You are no
But
longer.
I'm not the one doing the count, so I don't know.
Guys,
mean,
I have
I don't know.
audio. I
I
have
don't know.
audio of President Obama and Trump's last conversation with
wow.
each other, as they were, you know, because the new president a lot of times wants to introduce the new president.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he says, "Hey, this
Oh,
is
no.
the keys.
This
This is where the kitchen is.
this is not going to end well. I have
Hey,
a
by the way,
feeling.
the remote, we've got one where that's missing the 9 on it, so you're going to have to kind of.
Uh-oh.
This is, and then by the way, there's a weird guy named Bernie out front. You know,
Been here.
No, but you've got
Uncle Bernie.
you're changing houses.
Hide your
Think
frogs
about that.
from
You're-
him. Hide
You've been
your
living
frogs.
somewhere for 8 years, and you're like, I'm moving all my stuff out of my closet. So 8 years. But this is Obama. He says, Trump says, so hey buddy, I'm glad that you're here. And then Obama says, you know, can I stick around for a while? You know, can I help a little bit? Do you need a little coaching there, Trump-tastic?
Yeah, there
And
you go.
Trump-tastic says, well, yeah. Would you be willing to stick around? Because I'd love to have you stick around, Mr.
sure.
President Obama. And this is the conversation. He says, this is the final phrase. The rumor is that Trump said, Mr. Obama, would you be willing to stick around? And this is what Obama said next.
You're fired.
Oh, and so it was like he didn't get a chance to speak, and he just he said,
Wow.
So he says,
That's abrupt.
would
That
you
was
be willing?
abrupt.
It's like kind of like that. It was like what was it, Conan O'Brien, who always would tell people that's a great idea for me to poop on.
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
No, he's like, do you want to stick around? Because I would like for you to stick around. And
You're
then,
fired.
see, that's not nice. That's
Well, it's
people
what-
have a
I
problem
mean,
with his
it is
tone.
what it is.
They have a problem with his tone.
His tone.
It's a great tone.
It's a great tone that's making unemployment go down and the economy's growing.
That's
but the
right.
issue is with his tone.
All thanks to the tone.
But if he would be calmer and he'd say, now everybody, we're going to build a huge wall and we're going to lower taxes. Is everybody okay with that? Has anybody interacted with gluten today? Are you guys okay? We'll let you have a day off of college to think about how you feel about this. Are you guys okay? If he would talk like that, I think he has a real ready to be hired.
Do you need a therapy dog? Today?
Bro. Okay. So anyways, I just want to throw
Process
out,
what I just
people
said.
have asked me, what does it mean when you say Trump-tastic? I'm just saying it is fantastic. It is Trump. It is a growing economy. Amen. And if you don't like it, you can listen to a different podcast. That's okay. So now we've got a question from a listener, Mr. Blake, who wants to know about when to hire the right person. So I'm going to give you the big principles, and Z is going to provide the color commentary. And Andrew, write down the 5 steps.
Oh, you got it.
Step 1. Write down all the things that they would do if you hired them. Like, make a list of things. Josh, Living Water.
Yes, sir.
You have employees.
We do.
If you're not careful, can't they do nothing if you don't have a plan for them?
Real quick and in a hurry.
So
Hey,
you-
what did you do today?
So you want to write down all the things they need to do into a checklist or a script, a.k.a. key performance indicators. Give them something to do. Step number 2 from our home office, we're going to have Z recap on all 5 of these.
Recap.
Step number 2 is you want to figure out how much more money you will make and how much of your time you will have back if you hire them. How much money will you make and how much time will you get back if you do hire them? Step number 3, you want to interview a lot and hire fast and fire fast. Interview a lot of people. Interview a lot of people. Step number 4, figure out how much will it really cost you to hire this person. And step number 5, you got to figure out how long you can afford to keep them around if they cannot do what you need them to do. So, Dr. Zona, let's start with move number 1.
Oh, wait a second. You know what I would do? Blake, I would take all 5 of those and just throw them out the window and go hire somebody, for God's sakes. If you have a business, you need an employee there. You don't want to be the one answering the phone, greeting people
Stop.
at the door.
Stop.
You don't want to be that guy that, hey, I just opened up this branch office. I'm the only one in here.
Stop it.
I got to go fix it. I got to go plunge the
No.
toilet and get the coffee
No.
machine going.
No.
I'll be right
You-
back.
You
I'll be
early.
right back.
You early. You so.
I mean, the first
No.
person is so
No.
easy to
No.
decide.
No.
The
No.
first person
No.
is easy.
No.
You say, I got
I
a business.
rebuke.
I'm going to hire an
I
employee.
rebuke.
I don't want to do everything on my
I
own.
rebuke this moment. This is what happens is you earlier. I brought up the Dow Jones, and you rebuked. Now I rebuked.
I know. No,
so
I
here's
know.
my rebuke.
Okay,
Rebuke
there's
fest.
there we
There's
go.
somebody out there, not Blake, but somebody out there. Because I remember when I had to hire my first guy, it occurred to me I need to hire a guy, so I got 3 jobs: Applebee's, Target, and DirecTV, and I did it.
And you hired a guy.
Right. But a lot of people are like, I want to not Blake, other people. I want to hire a guy, but I don't have any money to do it. That's what somebody's thinking right now. Not our listeners, but the friends of our listeners. You know, the people, the Bernie Sanders people.
Well, here's
those
the,
people.
Here's the. I'm going to give you guys just a little insight into owning the business, starting a business, continuing on with a successful business. Yes. If you don't have a war chest
Yes.
built up
Mm-hmm.
to pay your rent,
Yes,
to do some advertising,
that's nice.
to have a phone system, yes, a phone, maybe even a fax if you're old school like me.
You
Because,
was just
who doesn't like
talking
having
dirty now. You just is getting crazy.
who doesn't like having a fax every now and then? Hey, baby, why don't you
Who is this?
fax that on over? I mean, I'm waiting on your fax.
Yeah, so nice.
Are you waiting on my fax? Yeah. Oh, wait, baby. The machine just lit up. Here comes your fax. Oh, yeah. That's right. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Give Daddy your fax right now.
Whoa.
So
Yes.
what I'm saying is that, Blake, when you open a business,
Yes.
you've got to have a war chest. And part of that war chest, is actually to have an employee. You say an employee, I'm not talking a high-level employee.
What y'all
Someone that
talking about, V?
answer the
Who
phone.
Who did this? What you talking
sign
about?
for UPS packages that show up while you're in your meeting. I mean, you've got to have someone to represent the business. Otherwise,
I want
you've
to
got
make him a contractor, Dr. Thelma.
Otherwise, you have a sign on the door that says.
I don't want to make myself employees. I want contractors because I want to save the money.
Otherwise, you got a sign on the door that says, "Busy right now. Just fax it on over."
I want to save the money. V, I want to
Hey.
save the money.
No one's here, but we'll take your fax anytime.
And so there's just a fax number, no email,
Yeah.
no website.
No nothing.
V, I want to.
No
I just
nothing.
there's somebody
No
out there.
nothing.
There is somebody out there right now who is saying to themselves, they're saying, "Self, I do want to hire somebody, but
I
that
tell
will
you-
require money, and so I'm going to make them a contractor. And whenever we aren't busy, I'm going to send them home.
There's
I
still-
expect devout loyalty."
That's not the way it works. But I'll tell you what. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a line from Justin Bieber. I'm bringing fax back.
Facts.
I'm bringing fax back.
V, why don't you just go fax yourself?
Whoa,
No,
whoa, 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 whoa.
I'm
Make-
faxical.
Now, seriously though, a lot of times, Andrew, you've seen this.
Oh, yeah.
You're in a meeting.
Yes.
How often do people want to avoid hiring an employee?
Every time, everyone wants to go the route of let's just call them up whenever we need them. And
I've
then,
got a daughter.
and
Yeah,
then-
your daughter's. Is that the daughter, the one that doesn't speak well? Oh yeah, she's cheap.
We're gonna
She's
hire
answering
her
the
to do
phone.
all the contract work.
She's answering the phones.
Now, okay, Josh, how often have you seen this? Because you have been you've been implementing systems. You've
Oh,
grown. How
absolutely.
much have you grown as a percentage in the last 2 years?
In the last 2 years, we're up. Well, actually, when we just did the math, so we're up a little over 600% since the day we shook hands, Mr. Clark.
Now, and are you on? Are you on? Are you on? You were on Good Morning America
Yes, sir.
recently.
Yes, sir.
You've had your bill. If you Google Tulsa man buys 8 billboards to declare his love for his wife, you'll find proof of this. Josh with Living Water Irrigation. Because
You know what? Josh, it'd been cheaper if you just fax that over.
I couldn't get the fax number. I kept trying to look, but I just didn't go through.
Hey, baby. Listen, baby. Get up in the morning, and before your second cup of coffee,
This is hot.
go in there and check the fax machine.
This makes me want to pass the Cavazzi.
Could be
Yeah.
something on it that you might be interested in.
Whoa.
all this thick
Oh,
talk
yeah,
just right
baby.
now. I'm just
Uh-huh.
Thrive Nation right now. If you would just
Uh-huh.
listen to this show just absolutely naked, just send us a fax.
Uh-huh.
All right, so seriously though, but people, what happens is they don't want to hire an employee.
Yes, sir.
And I hear it all the time.
Well, we struggled with it. I remember 2 years ago doing at the conference, asking Dr. Zellner literally this exact same question.
So you've learned
When-
you've learned through this.
Yeah, when is the right time? And I remember at that time sitting down and doing the math. How many hours am I working? What would it free up for me to do sales and
Yep.
business development? And your answer at the time, Dr. Zellner, I remember it like it was yesterday, is whenever there's more work than I can get done in 60 hours.
That's
So
correct.
that was your answer that time. You said,
That
hey,
is correct.
Joshua, if you sat down and you put all the duties and responsibilities together, can you get it done in 60 hours? And I was like, oh, no, I'm working like 90. And he was like, okay.
It's time for an employee.
Yeah.
And it's time to put that new printer.
Who did this?
What
Is
do
this
they
Dr.
have?
Zellner? Who is this?
What the fax machine
did
has?
this?
What do you put in it? It's a toner. You got to have a toner. You got to tone that thing
Toner.
up.
What
If
happened?
I could borrow your
Tone.
fax machine, I could probably go.
Oh no
set that up.
no! A lot of things you can buy off me, but not my fax machine.
What had happened was
Oh, I
Dr.
went too
Zellner
far.
started talking about fax machines,
And I
then
got all
next thing you know,
froggy.
I just got all discombobulated,
Whoa.
and all just the pheromones started coming out, and that's why I went to jail for a while.
I mean, that's
It's a confessional. That voice, I don't know where he's going to take the show. I don't know. He just starts doing his thing, and it gets weird.
It
Now,
gets weird.
How much money will you make as because some people hire non-needed people? This is one of my favorite things about government shutdowns. Z, will you explain what a government shutdown is? No, seriously.
my favorite
Explain
thing.
this, because what happens is the government is spending more than they have, and
Correct.
so they say, are we going to print more money,
Correct.
or are we going to shut it down?
Correct.
And every time they shut it down, people don't understand this idea. They only lay off or put people on furlough or time off who are non-essential, which is hysterical, because why do they have a job anyway?
Amen.
So the IRS still works.
Amen.
The military still works. They're laying off like librarians. And by the way, they should all be laid off because no one goes there. If you've been there, you scare people. There's like one person a day. It's unbelievable. It's like you look on your taxes and you go, oh, that's a library. That's a place no one goes to. We should subsidize it. Look, that's a museum. We should subsidize it. Anything that people don't go to, we subsidize it with government dollars. So the government shutdown occurs, and we lay off non-essential people until we can figure out, do you guys want to print more money? Burns?
Well,
Barnaby? Bernanke?
I thought we were.
Bernanke?
I thought we were.
Well, I don't want to cause hyperinflation, but I don't want to cause overinflation. Some inflation's good. Let's talk to Greenspan. Greenspan? Bernanke? What do you guys want to do? Let's print the money. So you print money. People think it's like a fancy, complicated thing. No, they're just printing money. I mean, what alternative universe do they live in where they can just print money? Z, remember the last time you and I printed money to make payroll?
Oh, how fun would that be? I mean, seriously, you have for those of you out there that actually balance your checkbook, bully to you, by the way, you actually balance your checkbook, and you realize if you don't have the money in the checkbook and you write a check, it will what we call bounce.
So let's do this. Let's role play. I want to be the Department of Education,
Okay.
and you are going to
What?
be the federal government.
We're role playing.
You
this
are
early in the
President
show?
Zellner.
Wow. Okay.
And
Here we
you,
go.
Oh, wow. Mr.
you are
President.
going to ask me for a viable budget to balance the budget, because you have decided as President Zellner you're going to balance
As
the budget.
president of these United
And
States of
every
America,
department, you've asked the military, education, you've asked every department to cut something.
cut
And,
something.
and I am now going to respond to you. Are you ready?
other than your fax machines and your paper for the fax.
President Zellner, you wanted to
Yes.
see me, sir? President
Yes.
Zellner?
Yes, I'm working on the budget,
Mm-hmm.
Director of Education, Secretary of Education, whoever you are. And
Right, yeah,
I have found out, much to my horror, that over the last X number of years, we actually as a country have been spending more than we've been collecting.
Well, I just want to start off with this, because this is something I just want to say. I feel like what you're doing is you're hurting the kids. And I just want to ask you, do you care about kids? Or do you care about your country? Or do you care about a budget? Because I just want to know that.
Well, I care about all three, actually, and that's why I'm meeting with you, because I think we can tighten our belts.
Well, I have a video of a third grader in Detroit right now who can't afford books. And this voice is going to keep changing as we go. Can't afford to buy books like a country person. This person can't afford to buy books.
You don't
and,
sound like you're from Detroit, though, sir.
and there's a lot of crying. Look at this video. There's the third grader crying right there.
That's
You're
a
gonna
card you're holding up.
Listen, there's a kid out here who's in third grade in Detroit who can't afford to get themselves a stapler, and you're gonna cut the budget. I mean, do you hate kids or do you hate yourself?
I guess I do.
Do you hate
both.
your inner child?
I guess I do both. Let's just keep printing
So then I
money.
go on CNN and Fox, and I'm like, and then cheering. Woo, woo, woo. Somehow it's unethical to balance a budget. What the crap?
Here's a problem with balancing a budget.
You guys don't like kids. Get off our podcast if you think that way, you freaking Bernie Sanders fan.
No,
Back to you.
stop it. Here's the thing, and listen, because Bernie Sanders fans need to hear this more than anybody. So don't get off the podcast.
Okay, get
Hang
back
in there
on.
for just a couple.
Come back.
Give me 2 minutes to completely redeem the show.
Resubscribe.
Yeah, and if you hang in there and email me, I'll send you a fax. Okay.
Maybe unsubscribe, click it, and then hit subscribe
I'll
again.
send
So it's like a double tap.
I'll send you a fax. Here's the deal. The problem with the balanced budget is everybody's upset.
Everybody.
Everybody's upset.
Outraged.
The military takes some cuts. Education takes some cuts. Every service that the federal government does takes some cuts across the board. And nobody wants to take a cut because here's the deal. Everything that we're involved in is the most important thing.
Can we cut something?
Yes, we can.
We can.
We can. And it's a
Yes,
bright
we can.
Yes, we can.
Thanks,
It's a bright
Obama.
future. And so the problem is that there's only so much money. There's only so much money.
Unless you're Little John.
No. Unless, well, I mean,
I mean, Obama or people who are.
we
using
are
that.
the rich guy that everybody wants to rob from. You do realize that.
Senator Little John, would you like to balance the budget? This is what he had to say about it. He says, "Oh, there's a lot of money. Trust me, we don't need to worry about a budget." Yeah. Then he said that.
Yeah, well, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Is that there is a lot of money, but there's a lot of money going in places that it shouldn't be going. And it's easy for us, unless it's that place that's our place, for us to go, well, it shouldn't be going there, right? And that's why it's kind of like a good settlement. If you have two businesses that are fighting over something, a judge hasn't really come to a good settlement until both parties are probably disappointed with the result. Neither one got what they wanted.
That's good. That's good.
And that's the problem. But the problem is now is living in a republic as we do. Some people say it's a democracy. It's technically a republic.
In my face.
But here's the deal, is that whenever your rhubarb gets rubbed wrong, then you're upset.
When your rhubarb gets rubbed wrong.
Pardon?
Yes.
That's
In other
something
words,
that Bernie talked to me a lot about.
I know.
In that bathroom. There's a
Uncle
little
Bernie.
bathroom out there by
and
the.
when you get money taken from the industry
Rhubarb.
or the section of life that you think it should be there, then you get upset about it.
And then you fax your congressman.
And then you need a lot of faxing.
Sorry, I just had.
You
I
stay
just
up
had-
late at night, you drink a bottle of wine, you just fax away.
I had a
Fax this
flashback
and
to when,
fax that.
to when
Rhubarb.
Bernie
Fax
pulled me
this.
aside. He said,
Faxed my rhubarb.
kid, come into this bathroom that is attached to the car wash by the shell. Come in here." And I'm like,
Have you ever been in a Turkish prison before?
"Oh, I remember."
No, my point is that it's difficult. And I had a friend once tell me this, and this is a true statement, and it deals with this, and that is, even a fat, healthy puppy will whine when you go and wean them from their mother's teat.
Oh.
Think about that for a hot minute.
Come in here and I'll show you my teeth.
Don't stop. Oh, Thrive Nation, I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep it between the rails here.
So am I.
So
Yeah.
my point is, though, is in order to balance the budget, the problem is you have to upset so many people. You have to upset seniors. You have to upset the healthcare industry.
Right.
You have to upset the military. You have
Right.
to upset education. And the problem is we've let these things drift so long that they feel like it's their right to be able to drift. And if they think they can just deflect all the attention on the other people, then they can keep their slice of the pie, their share of the pie. But folks, the pie is only so big, and now we're trillions of dollars in debt. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Andrew, you could probably Google it.
I'm on
if
it.
everybody cut a check right now, everybody, baby, young person, old person, middle age, but whatever age you are.
If you type in national debt clock right now, you can
looking
see
at it,
real
yeah.
time the numbers grow.
Oh, it's
Look at
crazy.
this.
It's overwhelming.
Folks, it's crazy. And we as a nation have to understand it's going to hurt. It's not going to be fun to negotiate this deal to where we say, listen, we all have to tighten our belts and we all have to understand that we have to we got to stop. We're in a hole. We got to stop digging.
Andrew, I want you to take 23 trillion, because that's what it's at.
Yep.
23 trillion,
Yep.
and divide that by 330 million Americans, and that's the check we'd have to catch.
Just
if you could-
crazy. That's stupid.
Yeah,
So-
it's got the debt per citizen right here already made up
What is
for
it?
us.
Go for it.
Per citizen, U.S. citizen, it's $69,000, $69,486.
So everybody out there ready to stroke a check for basically $70K.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is only U.S. citizens. We've got how much of our people that live in the United States are not citizens?
Let me look that up.
Probably what 10%,
Seven.
7%.
Still 7 people.
Oh, just 7%.
I believe that anybody who comes across this border is immediately a citizen.
Oh, there you go. And you know what? Some people
I was
would
on.
agree.
I'm sorry, I was
some
reading
people would
Bernie
agree with
Sanders'
you.
website. My bad. I was confused.
Some people would agree with you.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do now. We're going to say that, one, when you hire somebody, you got to write down all the things that they would need to do if you hire them. Okay, you got the checklists, the scripts, because I see a lot of people hire people, good people, and give them
Good
nothing to do.
Yeah.
You hire somebody, they have nothing to do all
Well,
day.
they'll figure it out.
So step 2, you got to figure out how much money you'll make and how much time you will get back. So Z, talk to me about buying your time back. Even if you don't come out ahead financially, you're just like, I get my time
Josh,
back.
would you feel into that? Because I mean,
Yeah,
I
this
think
is
that a couple of in-person workshops ago, you asked me that question,
Yes, sir.
the concepts. Touch on that again.
So the answer you gave me and what it's done for me. So I remember as I kept working more and more and more hours and seeing my wife less and less and less. And when I asked you that
Hence
question,
the 8
it
billboards.
was, yeah, it was at that exact time when we were growing, and it was awesome. But I was not ever home, and I never played golf, and I never went to dinner, and I never saw kids or grandkids or anything. So when I sat down and did the math on that, and when we talked about it, Dr. Zellner, it was, if I bring a person in, how much money does it cost me?
Right.
But also, how much time of my own does it free up for dual purpose? Number one, for home life and quality of life and slowing down the rat race a little bit. But number two, also gave me the opportunity to go earn more business and grow more business and spend more time on sales.
On the
and
higher
working-
end things.
Yeah, working
Yes.
on the big vision,
we
on
go.
working on the business instead of in the business. So the math for me, when we sat down and we quantified it, it was super simple. Hey, let me hire a person. Then once I hired that person and got them busy, it was, well, wait a second, let's hire another person, and then another one, and then
Because here's the thing about it: it frees you up to be the superstar salesperson that you are. And if you give that to somebody else to do, they're never going to have your enthusiasm. Eventually, they might. I mean, you have the scripts, you have the coaching, you role play enough with them, and you get them there.
Yep.
But day one, you're going to be the superstar going out there and do that.
Yep.
So you're harder to replicate. So find someone who can do all the grunge work, all the detail work, all the faxing that you're doing throughout the day. And that frees you up then to go do you can go hunt the big animal.
And
Because
if you could please go back to that, Dr. Zellner, because I've had a conversation with quite a few people as of recent that are abdicating sales to other people. We had a conversation about a year ago, you and I did, in this room,
Yes.
about what is the one thing I should not hire. What is the last person I should hire?
Right.
And your exact answer at that time was sales. Always go sell, Josh, until so if you could please.
until there's more business out there, then you can actually get your hands wrapped around, or you're tired of it, or you know what, you got the machine going well enough, or you've trained up someone to step into that. Unfortunately, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as you are, Josh, as you are, Clay,
Yep.
Andrew, I put you in the same category. The thing about it is our enthusiasm for the job is like our enthusiasm for our children. I love and really appreciate Clay's kids. I really do. I mean, they're great kids. All 5 of them. They
Great
all
kids.
have their little quirks, and they all have their little fun things about them, and they're beautiful, charming, well-adjusted kids. But I'm never, ever going to love them as much as Clay and Vanessa do. It's just the way it is.
Right.
I mean, I'm not.
And I'll never love my kids as much as I love cuddling with Dr. Z.
Well, and there you have it. See,
And there we
It
go.
is. It's
Sorry,
out.
I was just
Secret's
reading.
out.
I was reading the cue cards that
Yeah,
Andrew
thank
wrote.
you. I actually wrote those.
I
Oh,
hand-
he wrote those.
I hand
My
wrote
bad.
those, then
Yeah.
gave them to you, Z, and then you gave them to Clay.
Okay,
Well, I thought
sorry,
those
I'm
were the
just
notes.
following
I
the
thought
rules.
those were
Sorry,
show
sorry,
notes.
guys.
I'm sorry. We're a little off tilt.
Okay.
But my point is, and you have to look at your business as a child. I mean, really, you do. And the way you raise it through the different phases of it. Clay has a beautiful analogy for that, a story that he has, and when he educates people that are in starting a business, here's you treat the business day one, you do differently than you 10 years into it. I mean, it's just because it's a different child, okay? And if you treat your 10-year-old like he's an infant, it's not going to go well. Trust me. Same thing in business. And so as you develop your business, you understand there's things that now, if you're an introvert and you're not very good at sales and that intimidates you and you have a problem with that, and yet you've hired a rock star salesperson, then by all means, let them go out and do their job. But I know, Josh, you're an outgoing guy. You're charismatic. You're a handsome man. I mean, that's probably why you get stuck in backyards doing pool bids a lot.
Whoa.
Oh, I don't know. Our irrigation.
Did he go back to faxing again?
I went back to faxing. Would you fax over a picture
No.
of you today?
No,
But-
look-
no, I'm not quite done, Clay.
go for it.
But my point is, I get a little silly there. But my point is that when you find out what your superpower is in your business, don't hire for that. Hire for the other stuff that's keeping you from doing
Truth.
the superpower. So one of your superpowers is going out and meeting people and making the deal and talking to them because you're very nice, you're easy to approach, and you're good at that. And that's what you do, and that's how you're building your business. And then you want to have the ancillary people behind you to support all of that, okay? Because now you're having to do that and support yourself. So then you hire that support, all right? And then here again, you can free you up to go do more and more of that.
True.
And then eventually you'll reach a day you'll be like, I've probably written my last, estimate. I mean, I think I'm to a point now where I've got 2 or 3 guys that are going out and doing estimates. Yeah, they're not me, but they're close enough. You know, I mean, they're 90, 95% of me, maybe 97% on a good day. And that's good, you know. And so that's kind of your mindset is what's the best use of your time, all right? And yet then how much time do you want to give to the business? More so it's like a rocket, firing a rocket in the air. Day one, it takes a lot of energy, a lot of time,
Yep.
a lot of effort.
Yep.
And then when you get into orbit around the Earth, it's just a little here and there,
Houston,
you know.
can you pass the ice? Houston, we have ice cream
Houston,
up
we
here.
have a-
Houston, we have the ice cream. It's,
Houston, in fact, we don't have a problem, but my fax machine's broken. So, in fact, we have a problem.
Houston, I watched that video about how to pee in space, but I really didn't. I skimmed it. What's
Houston,
the move here?
I'd like to.
Houston?
Can I fax my pee to you, Houston?
Houston, I think my pee is floating. Where's that ice cream?
I don't know.
I think my
Who's-
ice cream is floating.
Who's
next
messing
to my
with
pee.
my Houston? I think someone up here is jamming my fax machine, and I don't know. I think it's
Houston?
astronaut Clark.
Looks like I can see Kyrie Irving from
Astronaut
up here,
Clark.
and it looks like the Earth's not flat. Houston, back to
I don't know how he got through astronaut school with that head.
Houston.
that
There's
big.
no problems up here. I'm in orbit. Just,
No, we're
you know,
fine.
Houston, no
Oh
problems.
wait, the fax machine's back working again. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
Y'all had the Bernie Sanders supporters back up until that bit, and then you just lost
Oh,
them
we
again.
lost them.
Oh, you lost them again.
Oh, okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to tell this listener specifically what the person you're going to hire should do because I've helped law firms do this.
Okay, here we go.
Step one, we're going to write a call script, and I'm going to call you, Josh, and I'm going to pretend that you are somebody who would need my services because this guy is an attorney, and
Okay.
he offers estate planning, that kind of thing.
I'm ready.
So I'm on the phone with Josh with Living Water. I'm calling you as an attorney, okay?
Yes, sir.
Boop, 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 boop. Hey, is this Josh?
Yes, sir.
Josh, this is Clay Clark. I'm calling here on behalf of Yada Yada Trusted Planning Attorneys. And I was just curious, have you made a will for your family so that way, you know, if something unfortunately ever happened, the money's going where it should be going and the state doesn't take it to probate?
We have not, Clay.
Well, unfortunately, 9 out of 10 business owners don't have a will in force, which is bad. And I have a really good stat, a hard stat that's verifiable. But I would say, and I know this because I helped Farmers Insurance train their agents for years, but I would say, and unfortunately, the vast majority of people, when they pass away, don't have a will in place. So then it goes into this horrible process called probate, and the state fights over your money. You end up paying like a huge death tax, and all it really is just a piece of paper that's in the way. So I'd like to meet with you for 10 minutes to show you how I could save you hundreds of thousands of dollars. When would be a good time to meet for 10 minutes?
I could do next Tuesday at 2:00.
So I'll put that in my calendar, and I'm going to email you references of 50 business owners who have helped them plan their wills with their cell phone numbers. And if you just maybe call 3, 4, 10, 50 of them, whatever, before we meet, that way you feel good about it and read our reviews online, and we'll meet. And the whole meeting should take about 30 minutes.
Perfect. Could you fax that list to me?
Absolutely. I love faxing. But anyway, that's what I would do, and that's it. And
That's perfect.
That's all
That's
that
fine. That's
person has
perfect.
to do
Yeah.
all day. And the average cold caller, one of the cold callers that I trained up that now works for Redmond, averages 250 calls a day outbound and has helped. It's unbelievable how many appointments they
hot.
set for Tim. The average cold caller who works for Tim Redmond makes 200 calls a day in 8 hours. And what you need to do is you need a phone. Use clarityvoice.com. Don't use something else. Use clarityvoice.com. The calls are recorded. Have a script that makes sense. And as Z pointed out earlier, you role play till they can't get it wrong.
Right?
And then every week, every morning actually, you take 15 minutes with this person. You play back random calls from yesterday, and you answer their questions. And after about 2 or 3 weeks of that, they're so good you only need to meet once a week. And then once a week, you play back calls and you train them, and you will make millions of dollars, Mr. Attorney. That's how you do it.
That's how you do it.
That's it. That's literally
That's great actionable stuff.
what
right there.
they do, and it works. And what I do with call scripting, which is really weird, my wife thinks I'm weird, but I'll get a cranberry and a vodka. So I do, and then I got that's step one. But I don't think you should do this. But this is what I do. And then I write the script, and then I read the script. And I
Backwards?
record it,
Record it.
and then I act as though I'm the person who's answering it on the second track.
Do you argue with yourself?
Well, I role play with myself. I try to think of how this would actually sound. And
Sure.
then once I get it to where it's good, I then give it to a client usually. And I've done that so much that now I can write it intuitively. But the key to it is thinking about the rude things that somebody else would say.
Sure.
And it's hard for me, being totally honest with you, with a completely clear head, where I'm like in alpha mode, to think about the rude things somebody would say.
The jackassery that's going to happen.
Because it's always meaner than you think it will be. And you're not prepared for it. So you make a script that thinks of the rude objections ahead of time.
Sure.
It's called a rude interview. And the first guy, I paid Michael Levine years ago to help me with some PR stuff. I paid Michael Levine as recently as October again. And Michael Levine is the PR consultant for Nike and Prince and Michael Jackson and bigger names throughout their careers. And Michael, Charlton Heston, George Michael, I mean, big people. He does a rude interview where he says, and see, you and I did an interview. I won't mention the name of the place.
Right.
But we did an interview, a big national publication back in the day. And you remember how, like, the person interviewing us was rude? They started off by saying, how could you possibly say that you could help a business owner grow a business without a degree when you have a degree? You remember that?
Oh, I agree.
It started off that way, and you're like, well, I'm an optometrist, and I did have a degree for that, but for other businesses, you might not need one. What you need is a skill. And they were just out for blood. They did not want to have a discussion. They just wanted to have a debate.
No, they just wanted to have, bullet points so they could make it,
Controversial
salacious and
and-
controversial. And these guys think they know everything, and they don't know nothing because they didn't go to school.
And they're gotcha
for
questions.
it.
So they're different than the questions they sent me to prep for. So a good publicist, which I've hired throughout my career, I've hired multiple firms, they will do a rude interview with you, and they will ask you rude questions. Like, I think you're a fraud. Prove to me you're not.
Right.
And you're like, huh? Like, see, that you wouldn't be ready for that. And that will happen on TV because TV is all about headlines. So you want to have a rude interview because, man, people, and then when you role play with your team, you should role play with them so much they don't sound like a cold caller anymore. That's the real business there.
That's the real deal.
Now, interview a lot, hire fast, and fire fast. Z, please explain why you want to hire fast and fire fast and why you always want to be interviewing. Explain to somebody out there who says, why would I want to interview if I don't have a position to fill?
Well, number one, you're going to have a position before you know it, and because people will do what's best for them, and oftentimes that means that they've already got something lined up. They don't tell you about it.
Come
and
on.
one day they show up and they say, "See you later, alligator," and then you say, "After a while, crocodile," and they're gone. And they're gone. Then you look around and you go, "Wow, I wish I had someone in the queue to take that spot."
I've got
So
audio
you
of
gotta have-
somebody who's not taking your words of wisdom.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Here, this is what you will sound
Did
like
you
if you.
videotape somebody else? Or did you tape
This
them?
is audio of what you'll sound like if you don't implement the. This is Dr. Z.
Oh.
I'm going to give him. He's going to go for it, and he's explained to you exactly what
Yeah.
to do. But somebody out there is fighting
They're
the
not gonna-
idea.
they're fighting.
They're saying, no,
Don't
my team would
fight.
never leave me. And this
Don't
is
fight.
audio of somebody after their team quit unexpectedly.
Don't fight.
Billy, are you okay in there? And then.
It's always that.
Why? Is that Nancy Kerrigan after being hit with a baton from Heart?
Here again, if you're doing what's best for your business, what's best for your business is having someone in queue. That means in line, in waiting, in rotation
Oh.
to come on board with the possibility of being hired. They're excited, you're excited, and you're waiting for that opportunity for them to come on board. So when you need someone extra, you've got someone in the queue, in the line, right, in waiting. If somebody quits you, boom, you've got somebody that you've already kind of vetted. Now, the reason why I always say hire fast, fire fast is a simple reason. One, there is no way in the God's green earth,
No way.
it's probably mostly blue, but we'll say green, well, aqua.
Aqua.
Can we all agree that's aquamarine?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, aqua,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
There's no way that you could do an interview with someone and predict with 100% clarity that they're going to be a great employee.
There you go.
Preach it.
85% of them are going to lie on their resume.
According
This
to
is-
Inc. Magazine, according
this
to
is
Inc.
just according
Magazine,
to-
Andrew put it on the show notes.
I'm on it.
85% of
Let's link
people
it.
are lying on. That's a big stat, but it's true.
Yes. And then again, you have 3 out of 4 people that are stealing from you,
I guess
that are
US
already punching your clock, by the way.
U.S. Chamber of Commerce reports 75% of employees are stealing from the workplace. A big number. Those numbers are freaking somebody out right now, but they're true.
They're
Verify
true.
them.
They're true. I can't make this. I wish I could make that.
We
stuff
wanna
up.
make this up.
I'm not
It's on
even
the
clever
show
enough to
notes.
make that up. But my point is that since you can't really, I mean, everybody, if they don't interview well, then they're right. You don't even think about hiring them. But if somebody interviews well, you look at the resume, they check all the boxes, hire them and put them in where it really matters, and that is shadowing or following you around or coming in and actually punching the clock and working, and then you measure them on what really matters, and that is, can they do the job with excellence? Can they learn? Are they coachable? Do they have the right character about them? Because some people you think, well, this guy's a high character guy, and then they come on board and they ain't high character.
Elon Musk couldn't be here today, but he wanted
really?
he wanted me to chime in with his.
Okay.
I think he wanted me to. He said this. He said,
Did he fax you and tell you that?
Elon Musk, by the way, he's the man behind
PayPal.
PayPal, Tesla, Solar City, SpaceX, Neuralink. And rumor has it, rumor we started right now, that he's working on fax technology.
And he's
2.0.
on anti-AI. he really has a nut for
Well, there's some
artificial intelligence.
There's some really bad stuff happening with AI right now. That's really.
Oh, really? Let's talk about that. I didn't.
Do you
know.
want to talk about it?
I didn't. Do you want me to Google it?
No, I'll talk about it.
Google
I'll
Docs
talk about it. One of the things that's going on right now is people are automating things that could kill them. Because, again, the people who wrote the Federalist Papers, our founders, they talked about that the average person will give up security. No, they won't. No. See, they'll give up their freedom for security. The average person will say, you know what, Z, I would rather have a decent wage guaranteed to me, so I'm willing to give up all my freedoms for that security.
Interesting.
So there are people right now who are not aware of this. I have a cousin who rides in a car for a major car manufacturer where it is a driverless car. He rides in it, and you drive in the car, and the car goes from A to B, and he's a tester.
Okay.
Well, I have a person fairly close to me who has one of these self-driving cars, and interesting, but he hit the button where it goes into self-driving mode. And so we're talking, and with great confidence, he's demonstrating how this thing can go around the city without needing. And all of a sudden, we're going hard right down the exit ramp, but the exit ramp is closed right now over there by the airport, Tulsa Airport there.
Yes.
Remember how they closed down 169 for a while?
Oh, yeah.
So we're headed off what is going to be our certain death, and he's talking to me because the thing is reading GPS updates that were put in by a person. And I'm like, hey, because we're probably a half mile, but I'm noticing the cars doing this, and I'm like, do you know I live here? That doesn't exist right now. This is a thing. It's a true story. And he's like, oh, my bad. I'll turn that off. It did that a while back too. It's kind of like, what do you mean it did that kind of while? And he's like, no. It was the craziest thing. I was reading some paperwork while I was driving. True story. Reading some paperwork. I was driving. You're reading a book while driving. Reading a book, and it started to go, this way, and they hadn't completed this little overpass here. So you would have driven to your certain death. So this is what happens. It's just automating jackassery. And people don't think, they're like, I'm going to give total control to this experimental technology that's based upon somebody had to put the data in there. Another thing is biases. So let me give you another dangerous thing. If everybody Google searches right now, America's #1 business coach, do it, type it in, America's #1 business coach, put the number there. America's #1 business coach, use the number 1, America's #1 business coach, Google search that, and you'll see I come up top in the whole world. Now, if you want to Google search Bill Belichick's #1 fan, I come up top as the #1 fan. Now, I have had on 2 occasions, one for the business coach and one for Bill Belichick, where someone has reached out to me that I did not know to ask me questions about Mr. Bill Belichick and questions about business coaching just because I am the #1. And this is a person who is definitely 40. And I said to the 40-year-old, I said, hey, they're probably closer to 50. How did you reach out to me? He goes, I got my phone number from a book. I think I put my phone number in one book. And he says, I understand you're Bill Belichick's #1 fan, and I want to do a show about Belichick. How long have you known Mr. Belichick? It's a podcaster. And I'm like, I have not ever met Mr. Belichick. Furthermore, I've got a cease and desist letter from the Patriots for talking about them too much. Seriously. So I don't know him, but I do think I am the best, but that's my opinion. Now, I got another bad situation because I'm top for #1 business coach. Hopefully, you look at my career and my facts over 12 years of doing this, and you can see that I am who I say I am. But you just have to look up. I would say YouTube reviews are probably more factual. If you go on YouTube and type in Clay Clark reviews, you can see 1,000 people sharing on video about how I've helped them, and that's a real thing. But another thing that's really dirty, I worked with a cosmetic surgeon many, many moons ago, not in Tulsa. This is dangerous.
Okay.
I got him to the top of Google. I said, you got to get the most reviews from your real patients. So this guy went out and just paid random people, Z. And true story, when you read the chart, can you please explain to me why you want to read the chart about what medicine someone's allergic to before having surgery?
So you don't give them that medicine and they have an allergic response?
Explain to the listeners, do you know what hyperhidrosis is? Does anyone know what hyperhidrosis is?
Yes.
It's where your palms, sweat.
Yeah, well, you could sweat. Hyperhidrosis could be, you could sweat there, you can sweat other places too.
So this doctor operated on a woman who was coming in for hyperhidrosis because she was in her early 30s and her hands sweat profusely.
Okay.
And he didn't read the chart because he doesn't read the chart because he's not a chart reader.
He's not a chart reader.
Collapsed her lung.
Uh-oh.
And so I'm talking to the guy and I'm like, hey, I'm monitoring your website and I saw this email review come in from the person and the person might die. And he's like, oh, God, how do you make that go away, he says. Oh. Now, he doesn't say There's no concern. You can tell this is what he does. This is his life. He's not like, because this has happened before.
Sure.
So he's like, I'm a cosmetic surgeon. I mean, I'm going to have some stuff. And I'm like, but he's not worried about it. But the thing is, he knows how to manipulate the Google searches because I taught him how to do it so that he can push the bad stuff down and the good stuff up. Now, Z, how many people go to page 2 to find things? Or 3?
Exactly 4 people in the history of Google.
So what happens is a very bad surgeon was very top in Google, which is why I reserved the right to work with people month to month. And I just said, I can't do it.
Can't do it.
Because it's just shadiness. So I'm saying, you think that I'm the world's best business coach because it says it in Google. You think, Z, your car. I mean, Z, have you ever had your GPS tell you to turn left where the road was closed?
Yes.
And when that crap ties into the way your car drives, that's some dangerous stuff. Another example that's really dangerous is I had a client I worked with. You know how they have Google Wallet?
Yes.
In Google Wallet, you can pay through Google Wallet. Well, they got locked out of Gmail. So like, okay, that's a problem, you know?
Okay.
So it's like, how do you get it back? Well, I'm locked out of my Gmail. Well, my phone, I keep all my passwords in my Google Docs that I use on Gmail. And I have my phone, you know, so I can't get my passwords. So I guess I could call Google.
You could call them, hey, Google.
So if I can't
What
reach
up,
somebody,
playa?
So I can't buy anything.
How goes it?
Yeah.
Mr. Google.
So I can't buy anything because it's my Google Wallet. I can't buy anything.
Uh-huh.
I can't check my email where I have my password. So like, so you basically, if Google doesn't pick up the phone and give you that password, you can't buy any goods or services forever because everything is in there. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's convenient.
It's a move.
But people will they'll exchange all their freedoms for convenience. Now you talk about
Why do you think that is?
laziness.
Oh,
Yeah, pretty much.
The drones.
I concur.
My buddy Joe served in the military. I won't mention his last name for his safety and that kind of thing, but he served in the military twice in Afghanistan. And what he did is he went. You were in the military there for a while there, Josh.
I was.
And he was active duty twice. He served, and he worked outside of the wire, which apparently is where you go outside of the protected zone.
Sure.
Yes,
And
sir.
his job is to find leading terrorists and to put a dot on their head using a laser pointer.
So the
Essentially,
drones can, yeah.
Can you explain, Josh, what happens next?
Then the drone makes them go bye-bye.
So he calls in and goes, whatever he calls in the thing.
Terrorist identified, and 3, 2, 1, and
And then you hear from 5 miles in the sea a drone, it flies, and no one can hear it because it's quiet. And he's watching with his little binoculars. They have the infrared. And he said multiple times, I noticed their head disappeared. Because this thing can fly over and go, choo-choo-choo. And then they have these 50 cals that can shoot. Even if they miss you, they take your head off. So the cool thing about that technology is that's how we got Osama bin Laden. No, if you miss with a 50 cal, if you miss, there's the pressure. It's so crazy it'll take your head off.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the concussion of it.
yeah.
yeah. So Osama bin Laden, they got Osama bin Laden using AI and geofencing. So what happens is if you go into a building that's being geofenced and you receive a text or an email, it gathers that data and it knows who was there based upon all your accounts.
Right.
The same technology used to kill Osama was used, like that could be used to kill you.
Absolutely.
And we assume that government is good. Government can become corrupt, and it usually does.
Wow.
So I don't think you should give all your power.
So
That
we need
sure
to go
came
buy
full
more
circle.
handguns?
We should. And it's but AI
and
is
get
Elon
bottled
Musk
water
is.
and baked beans.
You
in the
understand that
fridge?
Elon
canned beef.
Musk invented online payment as we know it with PayPal. He has reinvented the power grid with Solar City. He has invented reusable rockets. He has invented
SpaceX.
cars that are electrical that have unbelievable
Tesla.
acceleration. He has invented Neuralink now that thinks for you. Have you heard about Neuralink?
I wish I had it because I'd like someone to think for me.
If you look it up real quick, it's a chip that you can
Oh yeah,
embed
no,
into your
I
brain.
know about it. Yes,
You put the chip in your head and you think, and it types what you're thinking.
that's cool.
But the problem is it can always know what you're thinking. So if you're like, I hate that guy, to yourself,
It types it out.
it types it out.
It faxes it right then.
That there's no need to make a technology that could kill us. And Elon Musk's whole thing is, why would you want to make a technology you can't shut down? Now listen to Elon Musk describing the dangers of AI on an interview that appeared on YouTube you can find right now called Elon Musk's Last Warning About Artificial Intelligence on the Reddit Storytime channel.
The question here is a lot of experts in AI don't share the same level of concern that you do about the dangers of AI.
Fools.
What
Famous last words.
What specifically do you believe that they don't?
Well, the biggest issue I see with so-called AI experts is that they think they know more than they do. They don't like the idea that a machine could be way smarter than them, so they discount the idea, which is fundamentally flawed. That's the wishful thinking situation. I'm really quite close to, I'm very close to the cutting edge in AI, and it scares the hell out of me. It's capable of vastly more than almost anyone knows, and the rate of improvement is exponential. You can see this in things like AlphaGo, which went from, in the span of maybe 6 to 9 months, it went from being unable to beat even a reasonably good Go player to then beating the European world champion, who was ranked 600, then beating Lee Sedol 4-5, who had been world champion for many years, then beating the current world champion, then beating everyone while playing simultaneously. Then there was AlphaZero, which crushed AlphaGo 100-0. And AlphaZero just learned by playing itself, and it can play basically any game that you put the rules in for. Whatever rules you give it, it literally read the rules, play the game, and be superhuman for any game. Nobody expected that rate of improvement. If you ask those same experts who think AI is not progressing at the rate that I'm saying, I think you will find that their predictions for things like Go and other AI advancements have their batting average is quite weak. It's not good. We'll see this also with self-driving. I think probably by end of next year, self-driving will encompass essentially all modes of driving and be at least 100 to 200% safer than a person by the end of next year. We're talking like maybe 18 months from now. NHTSA did a study on Tesla's Autopilot version 1, which is relatively primitive, and found that it was a 45% reduction in highway accidents. And that's despite Autopilot 1 being just version 1. Version 2, I think, will be at least 2 or 3 times better. That's the current version that's running right now. So the rate of improvement is really dramatic. We have to figure out some way to ensure that the advent of digital superintelligence is one which is symbiotic with humanity. I think that's the single biggest existential crisis that we face, and the most pressing one.
And how do we do that? I mean, if we take it that it's inevitable at this point, that some version of AI is coming down the line, how do we steer through that?
Well, I'm not normally an advocate of regulation and oversight. I mean, I think one should generally err on the side of minimizing those things. But this is a case where you have a very serious danger to the public. And so therefore, there needs to be a public body that has insight and then oversight to confirm that everyone is developing AI safely. This is extremely important. I think the danger of AI is much greater than the danger of nuclear warheads by a lot. And nobody would suggest that we allow anyone to just build nuclear warheads if they want. That would be insane. And mark my words, AI is far more dangerous than nukes.
So like a lot of these programs are writing their own code now, and they don't know how to stop it. It's crazy. So I would just say I'm not a fan of, I don't think we need to be more efficient. I'm happy to live to be 80 some odd and die, and I'm okay with that. I don't want to live
Are we
forever.
ready to send a Terminator back in time to kill somebody? Because that sounds like where we are, right? I mean,
I'm ready.
Yeah, like somebody's got to
what
be
was the name of the
eliminated.
company that went live and on April the 5th?
Hey, there's a new Terminator.
2037.
Talk. Talk fast.
You first.
My name is Sarah Connor. August 29, 1997. It was supposed to be Judgment Day. But I changed the future. saved 3 billion lives. Enough of a resume for you?
No. You may have changed the future, but you didn't change our fate. I know you're scared, but I'm here to protect you.
Never seen one like you before. Almost human.
I am human, just enhanced. Why do you care what happens to her?
Because I was her.
I can see you're very upset. I'm going to help you protect the girl.
Nobody else is gonna die because of me! If you don't make it, everybody dies!
Expect a big ping, brother. The whole body's a weapon. Sorry.
When this is all over, I am going to kill you.
I understand.
I'll be back.
I know this is theoretical and crazy, but I'm just saying is the AI is a very dangerous. It's a dangerous thing that we're playing there. And so, but Elon Musk, he talks about when he's growing PayPal, he said that one of the things he learned early on that was the hardest thing that he needed to do was you have to fire people when it's not working out. He said it's the most awful part of running a business is you have to fire people when it's not working out. So it's very, 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 very important. If you own a business right now and you can't get people to do their jobs, hire fast, fire fast. Final 2 steps for sake of time, because I think we have an interview coming up in just a moment, is figure out how much it really costs you. See, if you hire somebody for $10 per hour, does it actually cost you $10 an hour, or is there taxes, insurance? I mean, what does it cost?
It does not cost you $10 per hour. It costs you more than $10 per hour because there are other expenses that you have to
office space,
match and pay
drones.
and drones and
FICA, Medicare. Think about these things. Usually, if you pay someone $10 an hour, it ends up being about $14 or $15 an hour. You got toilet paper, you got coffee, you got
the fax machine,
workman's comp,
fax paper.
Right,
if they're a big faxer, could it be 16, 17?
That right there will cost a lot. And the final point 5 is you want to figure out how long you can afford to keep somebody around if they're not going to do what you need them to do.
Well, if they're not going to do what you need to do, you fire them immediately. That's the fire fast part.
But can you put up with somebody for a day of bad performance or an hour? Because some people will keep somebody around for months who never does anything at all.
Years.
Because Elon Musk writes, one lesson I learned at PayPal is fire people faster. That sounds awful. I think if somebody's not working out, it's best to part ways sooner rather than later. Now, but most people, Josh, you've seen this, they will not fire people.
Yeah.
Most people will not. Most
and you're like,
people.
hey, what does Billy do? Oh, I don't know. Billy.
People, I would say most people that I have met through my process of coaching are in their 40s and have never fired somebody previous to working with me, ever. And I'm going, does that person do anything? No. Why don't you fire them? Well, because they're somebody's son or daughter or friend. Or
the holidays are coming up.
They have a soul. The holidays are coming up.
They just had a baby.
Big one.
They're my daughter, my friend, my neighbor, my cousin.
My wife.
They're somebody's buddy.
With my wife.
And then it gets into a religious discussion about,
true.
I think it's into a religious discussion about, is it ethical? Is it ethical? Should you fire
Hey, real
somebody?
quick, can I pile on that really
Yeah.
quick? So my company is named after John 7:38. I have very, very distinct and clear Christian views. It is wrong of you as a Christian to missteward your funds, your talents, your abilities, your strengths, everything that God has given you and has entrusted you with. It is wrong of you to allow somebody to take advantage of that. So for other Christian businessmen out there and other people who want to operate their businesses along with the Gospels and how Jesus led us and did that, please understand that it is okay to fire someone. It is okay to expect people to produce, to be a member of your company, and it is okay to make a profit off of your business. That's
is
my
okay.
one public service announcement
It's
for Christian
okay.
businessmen.
Would you fax that over to me?
It's on the way.
You a thick thief. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the final step here, the final step.
Final countdown.
Figure out how long, again, we talked about, I want to hammer it home. How long will you allow the person to steal money from you or get paid by you and do nothing? Is it 10 minutes a day? Is it 4 hours a day? Is it a week? See, how long can someone do nothing for you when you discover it before you get rid of them?
As soon as I get someone to replace them, they're bye-bye.
But I mean, some business owners will allow their average employee to do nothing. And Andrew, look at the stats. But right now, the statistics that you can find out there, the average employee spends 41% of their day doing nothing.
Jacking around.
Doing
They're
nothing.
doing something. It just ain't what you're paying them to do.
Let me give you the hard stats here. I'm going to go to thrivetimeshow.com/does-it-work.
I've got it right here.
Read the stats, buddy.
In an article published by the New York Times bestselling author Kim Blanchard, a large survey of 1,300 private sector companies conducted by Profit Consulting found that on average, only 59% of the work time is productive.
59% of the day they're working.
41% is wasted.
So I'm just saying, let's be honest about it. Put cameras, and there's nest.com, put up cameras just like Quick Trip, just like Walmart, just like Target. Put up cameras so you can see what the people are doing, and if they're not working, fire them. Because if you're hiring them just to hang out, then that would be called a friend, and then you can have those. But if you're going to pay somebody, don't missteward your money. And Z, I think we have clarified a little bit about
The
AI,
5-step hiring somebody.
how to determine when it's right to fire people, everything you need to know about faxing. We've talked about the national debt. We've talked about Trump-tastic things. We've covered so much ground.
It's pretty incredible if you think about it.
Hot mic. Get ready for the boom. Here we go.
Hot mic. Ready?
3, 2, 1,
Boom!